Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. This is the match preview. Newcastle head to Crystal Palace on Friday evening looking for a much needed win. I'm joined by John Gibson, head of recording another episode of Gibbo's Corner, but we thought we'd get John's view on what has been a turbulent few weeks at Newcastle United. John, is tomorrow's game against Crystal Palace a must-win for Steve Bruce?
I think it is. I think the way Newcastle are at the moment, virtually every game that comes along is a must-win. The worry is, can they win? Might be a must-win, but can they win? And the answer to that is only if they play a lot differently to what they've been playing recently.
And they've not been playing well at all. And I think that's what's irked a lot of Newcastle United fans, not necessarily getting beat off Chelsea, but the way they got beat. You know, the performance was lacking right from the off. Same against Southampton. And we're going to hear from Steve Bruce in his press conference in a moment. But I just want to get your opinion on that, John. It's a valid criticism from fans. Even pundits have pointed it out. We've pointed out at the Chronicle that something's got to change because it's not good to watch. Personally, I feel it's a bit of a defeatist attitude. They look like they're set up to at best get a point. And a win is, well, would be nice, but they don't look like they're in that mindset to try and beat teams, and that's quite worrying.
No, they're dreadful to watch. From a Geordie's point of view, they're absolutely dreadful to watch. From a neutral's point of view, with them on telly so much these days because of coronavirus, they're the most boring side in the Premier League. And that's frightening because it's the doctrine of Steve Bruce appears to be, it doesn't matter how we play as long as we get the results because we've got to collect points. But quite frankly, if they continue to play the way they are now, they will not collect points because the bottom of the table when it comes to shots, the bottom of the table when it comes to passing in the final third, the bottom of the table when it comes to shooting, the possession stats, every single Premier League game is beneath 50%, and a lot of the time way beneath that. Steve Bruce has won 6 of his last 27 games. Now, those stats aren't a matter of opinion, aren't a matter of people with chips on their shoulders having a go at Steve Bruce or Newcastle United. They are facts, and it's worrying in the extreme, because unless Newcastle stop the way they're playing, they will not start to win games because they don't get up the park enough to win games. It is a horrendous state of events. I mean, when I look, typical for me was that game against Chelsea. In the 84th minute, we got a throw-in level with the edge of the Chelsea box, and we passed the ball back 90 yards to our keeper from a throw-in on the edge of their box when we were 2-0 down with 6 minutes to go. What sort of hope are we given of getting a result when that is the way we play?
Yeah, it wasn't good. I think a lot of people have actually forgotten that Chelsea's second goal came from a Newcastle United throw-in. And that's been brushed over probably for the better of Steve Bruce. Talking about Steve Bruce, he held his press conference on Thursday morning and he was asked about team confidence, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, it's been tough. Look, Southampton, well, last 3 games, the team who we're playing against could have gone top of the league. So that's sometimes the way it falls. And make no mistake, in the last couple in particular, against Southampton and Chelsea, we found it difficult. We haven't played well enough. So we accept that and move on. That's the way it is. That's the Premier League. You know, you've got to go with it and take the punches that come along. And certainly we had a difficult couple of weeks. However, we've got another game Friday and then next week. So it's important that we show that resilience that we've shown over the last 16, 18 months since I've been here, and go with it and try and get a result again.
Well, of course, we've got to try to get a result all the while. And Newcastle do get results. Unfortunately, they're defeats. That's a result. Newcastle have got to do much better than that. And it's not just a matter of showing resilience. That is a typical Steve Bruce quote. Resilience means pulling the sleeves up, having a real go, battling at the back. We've got to do more than that. We've got to get into the final third. Newcastle have played with attacking players in Wilson, in Almiron, in Sir Maximum, in Fraser when he's available, etc., etc. Are we utilising them to the best of their ability? I mean, this is supposed to be a work in progress. Well, I ask you, if it's a work in progress, what progress has been made? If you look at the 4 major signings we made in the summer, taking the keeper out, who was always just going to be a backup keeper, how much has the team been improved? Wilson has unquestionably improved the team. There's no doubt about that. But you look at Fraser. I mean, he's not going to be available against Crystal Palace. He might be available in a week's time or a little bit longer. He started 1 Premier League game since he came, and he didn't come with an injury. He came not having played for a while, but he didn't come with an injury. So the jury's out on him. Hendrick's gone backwards. Hendrick started okay against West Ham, but he's gone backwards. And the young left-back, Jamal Lewis, is a young boy learning the game who gets caught out defensively. So I wouldn't say he's improved the left-back position. Fraser hasn't been able to do anything. Hendrick's been dreadful. So the only one that's actually at this moment, and Fraser might well become good, at this moment that's justified anything, has been Wilson. And we are now going into a period, starting with the game at Crystal Palace, where every game is on paper winnable. But are we going to win it? We play the 2 deadbeats down at the bottom, Fulham and West Brom at home in that period. We play a quarter-final of the League Cup. It is absolutely crucial that we fly in this period. I mean, I noticed Jamal Lewis said that we definitely could finish in the top 10. Well, I think that's exuberance of youth. I mean, I don't think that for one moment, and I don't think any Geordie fan right now will believe that. But let's make no doubt about it. We have got to get something at Crystal Palace.
Steve Bruce there saying we need to move on. That's angered quite a few Newcastle United fans on social media. And we all know social media is this ticking time bomb anyway, and Steve Bruce isn't well liked on that platform, especially Twitter. So he has got a bit of a tough job. But can you understand the frustration from fans at that comment, just move on? Because is that Steve Bruce kind of being a clever manager and trying to deflect the criticism, trying to dampen it, and behind closed doors he's not moving on, he'll be drilling it into the players that's not good enough, it's not acceptable? Or do you generally think he thinks that it's maybe the criticism's over the top and we move on to the next game, and the next game is the one to focus on?
Well, he's got to understand his public, because they play a vital part in whether you liked or disliked is a huge thing in football. And at the moment, Steve Bruce isn't helping himself, because there is this feeling that it's everyone else's fault bar Newcastle United's, the dressing room, the players, the coaching staff and him. And quite frankly, it isn't. We have seen not one iota of progress in 18 months. The way Newcastle play, unfortunately, reflects the way Aston Villa played towards the end of his reign at Villa, when the Villa fans turned on him completely because of the type of football. I mean, you look at Steve Bruce and you think that he approaches football with the idea of not losing rather than the idea of winning. And quite frankly, one win brings you 3 points. Now, if we are going to get our points the way we got them, 1 point at Spurs and 1 point at Wolves, they are mammoth efforts. Within 10 minutes, the game was up against Chelsea when we were 1 down, straight away.
And against Southampton.
Yes, the best you can get is a draw. You're not going to win because they're not going to score twice. Newcastle have got to adopt a much better progressive attitude. If you get 3 games like we got against Spurs and Wolves, you've got 3 points. That's a mammoth effort to get that. In 1 game, you can get 3 points with the right attitude.
I just want to ask you there about how they're starting off. Steve Bruce, again, he said after the Chelsea game, you know, this is kind of the 3rd or 4th time we've started badly.
Yep.
We mentioned there against Southampton, it was, 6 minutes in, they could have been up. They then got the goal. Chelsea, 10 minutes in, 1-0. And it could have been 2 even before that. Darlow again, saving Newcastle's blushes. If that is the case, and it is the case that Newcastle have started badly in several games, what is going on? Because I was sitting there and I listened to him say that after the Chelsea game, and I was just thinking, right, if you're saying that to the supporters, you're saying that to the media, then it's an issue. But there'll be a fair few tomorrow who will bet that Crystal Palace will have a goal within the first 15 minutes of the game.
Well, that used to be Newcastle United style, going way back. The style used to be, we come out the blocks fast and try to hit them and try to set a good tempo to the game. We come out now for a match as though we're fearful. And certainly, I think the defenders are fearful. They are terrified. They're quite happy to drop off deeper and deeper and deeper if it's not going to offend the manager. Why do they want to do that? Because the centre-halves are terrified that players with pace will get behind them. They're like, and Lascelles is the greatest example of this. He likes to play in a 3. He likes 2 centre-halves on either side of him where you can't get a piece of paper between them and 2 sitting midfielders in front of him. That's the sort of protection they want, because they're scared of people with pace getting behind Newcastle, and therefore they defend deep. And if you defend that deep, you might have ball carriers like Almiron and Sam Maximum, but you've got an awful long way to go from the edge of your penalty area before you get to the edge of theirs, never mind anything else. You cannot keep playing like that. And Newcastle play with fear. Leeds United that have come up would be called gung-ho. Their manager would be called Kevin Keegan from the old days. But which is better? Surely Leeds are better to watch than Newcastle. I mean, Leeds took the game to Arsenal the whole time. They haven't come up with fear. We have a fear inbuilt in our side before a match starts.
And the scary thing is that Crystal Palace beat Leeds United 4-1 not so long ago.
Oh, Leeds playing the way they play will get beat. But yes, Crystal Palace, we talk about them being all about Zaha. And when he doesn't play, they've only won twice.
And he'll be missing this week because of the COVID scare.
Yes, I would think so. But if you look at it as just facts, we are all about San Maximum. We've only won 1 game. Steve Bruce has only won 1 game where San Maximum hasn't started in the Football League, in the Premier League. So you could put the same emphasis onto us. I've got Zaha out would be a huge help. But will Newcastle be fearful? Will Newcastle go into this game thinking a point's a good result? A point is not a good result against Crystal Palace.
Especially
3 points is a good result.
Especially when it's away from home, but there's no fans allowed in. So Palace are known for that atmosphere.
And if you're not going to get points against Palace, if you're not going to get points against Fulham, if you're not going to get points against West Brom, what are you going to get them from? He said, we're playing good teams. We could have gone top. These sides. Yeah, Southampton could have gone top. A year ago, they got beat 9. If we are starting to be terrified of Southampton, we have got a problem playing in the Premier League, mate.
Well, you had a slip of the tongue there, didn't you, with Football League? Fearful thinking.
Yeah, heaven forbid that. I'm eternally grateful that Fulham and West Brom are what they are this season, and that Burnley and Sheffield United are suggesting that they overperformed last season with the results, because those 4 are giving us a cushion.
So Palace 7 points from the last 5, Newcastle 4 from the last 5. You would look at Palace and you'd argue they're favourites. I think Newcastle United fans would unfortunately say that. Just before I ask for your score prediction, John, any changes you'd make? Obviously, Callum Wilson looks like he's going to be involved. Steve Bruce, said he's trained and looks ready to go. Matt Ritchie, John Joe Shelvey in contention. There are a few unnamed players who are going to miss out. They're self-isolating because of COVID.
Yeah.
Steve Bruce didn't want to go into detail. I'm sure we'll find out tomorrow when the squad and the team's announced. But let's not kind of guess who those players are. Let's just say everyone's available. Who would you pick? There's a lot of talk about that midfield.
Yeah.
Hayden starts for me. Does he start for you? And if so, who does he partner?
Yes, he does. Well, first and foremost, I would like to look at the attacking players, because we're talking all this time that Newcastle have got to start attacking. And I would like to see, bear in mind Fraser is evidently not available. He is not fit. I would play Wilson up front. I would play Almiron on one side wide and Sam Maximum on the other side wide. And I think, and this is an unusual one, I think I would go with Sean Longstaff at 10, because I think he can play 10, he looks for a shot, he's got a vicious shot on him, and he can play that 10. I would have played Almiron 10 and Fraser out wide if I could. Fraser's not going to be available, so I'd play Almiron one side, Sam Maximum the other, Wilson up top, and put Sean Longstaff in at 10, which no doubt will see Shelby come back, I would suspect, to play alongside Hayden.
They've missed Shelby, I think. I know he gets a lot of stick, but
yeah,
at least he looks for something. At least he's got that want to create something, a bit like Alan St. Maximin has. Without him, there's just no desire to go forward.
I can understand that, but one thing that always upsets Supermac, and it upsets me to a certain extent as well, is there's a feel when we play Shelby, we play him almost standing on the toes of the two central defenders or the three central defenders. We play him so deep, and this is going back to Lascelles and the other two centre-halves liking players around them. So you get Shelby playing far, far too deep on the edge of our penalty area, whereas if he could push up, his passing range would be so more telling higher up the field. I wonder whether it's a chance to give Richie a go at left back as well, because he brings an awful lot to the table in terms of enthusiasm, determination, and making others around him play.
Sets a bar, the standard.
Absolutely. And it may be in the team with the people I've mentioned, he would be better off playing on the left wing back position and giving the kid a rest, the young lad Lewis. Yeah. Because I don't think you're going to get Richie in, or I don't want him in further upfield. I would prefer San Maximum and Almiron up there. So maybe it's a time just to give the kid time to draw his breath, because he's come from a relegation side last season into a side that's getting pelted for their performances this season, and it might give him a little chance to be out the firing line.
Have you noticed us, those watching on YouTube, looking around, we just had a nice little visit from a four-legged friend who's now getting a nice cuddle. Gorgeous he is. John, your score prediction then?
Well, because you can, they'll go to get a draw and say it's a good result. They must win, and if Zaha doesn't play, that definitely implodes on their team. But I still fear the worst. I can see we're getting beat by a goal. I'm hoping to death. If Steve Bruce plays the right way and Newcastle United can win, will Steve Bruce play the rest of it? I'll ask you. I think probably not. If he plays the right way, Newcastle can get something. If he plays his usual way, Newcastle lose.